video or two here before, thank you so much for coming back. We don't take you for granted on this channel. So today, as you can see, I'm in the car. I am in Knox, my daughter's car that she got, I guess, for Christmas in a sense. If you haven't watched any of my videos before, my oldest daughter goes to school in Illinois, and so of course she was home for the winter break. And when she was home for the winter break, my parents bought her a car. So when I got her ticket, which was back in September, I got a two-way ticket because we found out from her coach, you know, when she had to be back. She runs track. She goes to school on an athletic scholarship for track. We were trying to get the dates, you know, for the break, you know, when she had to come back and all of this type of stuff. So she had to be back on the 7th of January. So I got a ticket for her to come home to Maryland and then leave early the morning on the 7th so she can get back because they have practice today and tomorrow to prepare for the upcoming meets. So they did have a meet, their first meet of the season, on December 11th, and then the next day, the 12th, she came home for the break. So she was able to stay here for almost a month, or stay in Maryland with us for almost a month. And then, like I said, she had to come back on the 7th. So, because I am a teacher, and, you know, I had to teach on Friday the 7th, the question was, would she just ride back with me, even though she had a flight back to Illinois? Or would she just go ahead and fly back, and then I drive the car to her? So we went back and forth. And so I basically told her, she was willing, she actually wanted to ride with me. She didn't want me to drive by myself, but I told her to just go ahead and go back because I wanted to make sure she was back in time to do what she had to do. So today is the 8th. I left yesterday the 7th, drove about 7 hours to Columbus, Ohio. I stayed at a hotel to kind of just, I drove until like, I left at night. I love night driving, okay? Because night driving, you can just, you know, drive on through. It's like a smooth ride. You don't have to deal with traffic. And, you know, especially when it's rush hour in the evening, people trying to get home, or rush hour in the morning, people trying to get to work. You don't have to deal with those things. So my ride was just, you know, wonderful, straight through. And so that was wonderful. And so I drove as far as I, you know, felt like I could drive. And I actually had probably about another hour in me. But as I was approaching Columbus, Ohio, I decided to stop and get a hotel in Columbus because, you know, it's a major city, you know, it's a known city, as opposed to me driving, you know, an hour more, and then I end up like in a little town that, you know, I'm not familiar with at all, and then having to get a hotel there and just not knowing what the situation would be. So that's what I decided to do. So around 4 a.m., that's when I was coming through Columbus, and so I stopped there. I called, I, you know, looked on the internet at a few hotels. I called one, that one worked out, thank God. Had a wonderful night sleep because it was, I went there at 4 a.m. But their checkout was at 11:30, so I stayed at a Ramada in Columbus, Ohio. The hotel itself was like a little bit older, but it looked like they may have renovated the rooms, not necessarily the hallways and stuff like that. Like, you know, some of the carpeting and stuff like that could be upgraded, but generally the room was nice. You know, it was a nice size room, and I was very satisfied. It was clean. The beds were comfortable. I had a wonderful night's rest, so I'm glad about that. That worked out. So I kind of just prayed, you know, like as I was approaching about 20 minutes before getting into Columbus, I was like, Lord, let me just find a hotel. I don't want to have to keep calling around, you know. And then I couldn't do it on room for the night of the 7th, but because it was 4 o'clock this morning, it was already the 8th. So had I tried to get a hotel online, I usually use hotwire.com, and I have the Hotwire app. That's normally how I get my hotel rooms at a discounted price. So the hotel that I got, I think was like $69, 60 something dollars or whatever, if I were to go through a third party site like Hotwire or Expedia or something like that. But it was $76, so it was only a few dollars more, and then of course you're going to pay the tax, the different taxes or whatever on top of that, about $10 to $12 in tax on top of that. So because it was less than $10 difference, I wasn't bothered by it. My parents, knowing that I had to bring the car to Malia, helped me out. They sent me some money for a hotel because they wanted me to stop. They know how I am. I can get on the road and like push through and drive, the whole way. I've done that before when Malia went to Missouri State University, and then when we had to take her to Illinois to move into school, we drove and we pushed through. Our intent was to stop for the night, but we ended up just pushing through, and it was easier to push through, of course, when you have somebody else helping you drive. And so on that trip, Malia did help me drive. We did 2 trips this summer. We had to go move her out of her apartment in Missouri, so we had to drive to Missouri, and then we had to drive back home from Missouri, and then we had to drive to Illinois. And so she stays about 45 minutes outside of Chicago. So it's a smaller city or whatever, but it's about 45 minutes outside of Chicago. So when she flew home, she had to fly home from Chicago, from the airport in Chicago. I think that's the O'Hare Airport. So that's the airport that I will be... Okay, somebody's stuff fell out of their car. That's the airport that I will be flying home from on Sunday. So the saving grace on this trip, and I think the reason I'm able to just going through, number one is because I did the night driving like I said, so there wasn't a whole bunch of traffic, just no traffic at all, flew right on through. This morning got to the hotel 4 o'clock. My plan, the checkout time was 11:30 for the hotel, the Ramada that I was at. And so instead of me leaving, at 11:30, I got a call from my brother, and we were talking for about an hour. And so after that, I was like, okay, there's no need in, going back to sleep. Let me just get up and go ahead and leave. So I ended up leaving at 10:30, which is an hour earlier than scheduled. I said, let me just go ahead and get on the road. So that will, get me there an hour earlier than what I had planned, which is good. So I should be getting to Illinois at about 5 o'clock, 5 p.m. today. So Illinois is Central Standard Time, so it's an hour earlier than Eastern Standard Time in Maryland, where I live. So I'll be getting there at 5 o'clock Central Standard Time, so that's 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that gives me, a little more time to spend with Malia this evening. So we'll get to spend some time this evening, and I'll probably, do another vlog when I get there, and, we go do whatever we do this evening. And then my flight on Sunday, the flight back, is, it leaves Chicago about 8 something, 8:30ish, 8:40ish, 8:50ish, something like that. I have to, look and see. But I get back to Maryland, I think around 10:50 something. So almost 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So I think another reason why I'm enjoying this trip, in addition to the lack of traffic, the wonderful just ride straight through, and the fact that I was able to stop and kind of get some rest. So I stopped for like 6 hours. I guess 5 or 6 hours I was able to stop and get some sleep. Another reason too is because I know I don't have to drive back. I was just talking to Malia on the phone, and one of the things I told her is with all of the driving that we've had to do, and all the driving I've had to do, with the kids, is, you have to drive going to wherever your destination is, and then you have to drive back. And so, I'm so used to having to drive both ways. And, when you're going to your destination, it's like, okay, I can do this. But it's like sometimes a struggle driving back. It can be a struggle driving back. At least that's the way I feel about it, because of the long distances. I'm used to driving wherever we have to go. My kids, most of the driving that I've done, I would say 90% of the driving that I've done is having to do with the kids. Whether it was driving to track meets, whether it was driving to, before they started running track in high school, they were into grappling. And so, shout out to Lloyd Irvin in Camp Springs, Maryland. That's where they were for some years, like from their elementary school years through middle school. They stopped doing grappling, competing in grappling when the girls went to high school in 2014, the fall of 2014. But for years before that, they were grappling, and so they would compete. If anybody knows anything about the grappling world, especially for youth, NAGA, North American Grappling Association, I believe is what NAGA stands for. So we would travel to different places for them to compete. Pennsylvania, New Jersey, a few different places where they had competitions. I think Virginia, out in Virginia somewhere, So, like I said, I'm no foreigner to driving. Long trips, short trips, whatever. Even with my friends, we would get together. I always had a van, and that's why I love vans, y'all. I think I would always want to keep a van, even if I got another car sometime in the future. I would want to keep my van just because of the space. I've fallen in love with it, and so a van is just amazing when it comes to having a travel vehicle. Some people like SUVs, that's wonderful and all that type of stuff, but I personally prefer a van, because with SUVs, that's like, it's going to eat your gas up. It's going to eat your gas up. You have to spend so much money on gas to fill up the tank of an SUV. But with a van, it's better gas mileage that you get, and you have all the space and all of that. So I got my first van when my kids were young. They were very young, like elementary school, early elementary school. And they were young to the point where, like, when they got in the van, they could walk, in the van without, their heads hitting the ceiling and stuff like that. So they were young. So they were just like so excited that they could walk around in the van and all that type of stuff. And then as they got older, of course, with 3 children, that are athletes, it was awesome to have where there was space. Normally it was just me and the 3 kids when we went on the majority of our trips, because it was something for athletics. And so they were able to lay out, stretch out, and all that type of stuff. Normally one would ride in the front with me, and then the other 2 would be stretched out on the 2 rows in the back. So legs up on the side, and all that, just extremely comfortable. So having a van has been a lifesaver for me. And so now, even after my empty nest period, where all of my children have graduated high school, gone to college, and all that type of stuff. Now moving, like taking them to college, van was a lifesaver, y'all. Van was a lifesaver. I don't know how we would have gotten all the stuff that they had, if I had a regular car. I don't know how it would not have worked, or either I would have had to, have multiple cars come with us to carry some of the other stuff that they had. And like I mentioned in, previous videos on this channel, I'm a couponer as well. So I started preparing 2 years before my girls went to high school, which is in 2014. So that's what caused me to start couponing. And so in couponing, I was able to save a lot of money, but I was also able to get them a lot of stuff that, you know, I may not have been able to get them I would not have been able to get them for the same amount of money. Had I just gone to the store and just bought stuff, you know, for full price, regular price, you know, no indeed. They would not have gotten nearly as much as what they actually had to take to school with them. So because of my couponing, I was able to get more for them, okay, is what I'm saying. And so because I had more for them, I needed more space to take all those things. Now, when my two daughters, who are twins, graduated high school and I had to move them into college, because they're twins, that means I had to move 2 times the amount of items for them to go to school. So I had to pack this car, or not this car, I had to pack my van. It was literally packed from the floor almost to the ceiling. It was like hilarious. And so, you know, we were packed in the car. The kids where they normally would have space when we travel in the van and stuff like that, they did not have space because, you know, we had stuff packed up and all of us were in the car. So even my son, you know, went to help and everything like that. So we're all packed in the car. So he had to sacrifice. They had to sacrifice the trip going to where, you know, to drop them off at school, to be packed up in the car in order to get everything there. So, but I would not have been able to do that without a van. And so it worked out where my youngest twin daughter went to a school in Indiana. And Indiana, we had to pass through Indiana on the way to the school that my oldest daughter went to in Missouri. So it was like awesome because Indiana was 8 hours away from Maryland. And then Missouri was 8 hours away from Indiana. We literally had to pass through where my daughter went to school in Indiana. We had to pass through there in order to get to Missouri. So the very first trip that we took to Missouri, we drove to Missouri. So this is when she was being recruited for track. And we had to drive to Missouri for her to do her visit. I didn't want her to commit and all that type of stuff. Even though it was a full ride and all of that, we were very blessed by that, you know, very excited by that. But at the same time, I did not want to send my child 16 hours away from Maryland, just because it was a full ride and, you know, we had not seen the school or anything like that. So we drove 16 hours, and I believe that first trip we drove straight through. So of course we had to stop for gas, stop to use the bathroom, get something to eat. But we literally drove straight through to Missouri for 16 hours. So we did, and at that time nobody had driver's license. I don't think anybody had driver's license. No, my youngest daughter did have a driver's license, but she didn't drive. I think she might have done 1 hour of driving out of the 16. So I take that back. She did drive it. I think it was 1 hour. But anyway, we drove the 16 hours to Missouri, and, you know, we did the visit and everything like that. Everything was fine. Okay, so we knew she was going to sign the paperwork. She was going to commit. Well, she had already verbally committed, but she was going to sign the paperwork. She was going to go to that school. So that worked out. Then we had to drive 16 hours back home. All right, so that, you know, that's a lot. That is a lot. So I think on the way back home, so going to Missouri, I was trying to pinpoint 8 hours. I knew the drive was 16 hours. So 8 hours in was the halfway point. So I wanted to pay attention to where we were 8 hours in, what city it was in. So it happened to be in Indiana. And this is before my second daughter committed. This is before my youngest twin committed to her school. We didn't know where she was going at the time. And so it happened to be in Indiana. And so I made note of the exit. I made note of the city on the signs and stuff like that. So I said, okay, when we come through here again, when we have to take Malia to actually move into school, we're going to drive halfway, stay the night, and then drive the other half. So this is where we're going to stay. You know, I kind of look, you know, when you're driving on a main road and you see the exits, you can see like the signs for the hotels, the signs for, some eating place, some restaurants, gas. So I wanted to stay somewhere that, had some things going on. It wasn't like a little hick town, where it might be a little, you're not sure if you feel safe and all of that. So this was the spot that I decided when we came back through to move Malia into her school in Missouri. This is where we would stay. So long story short, when Shalise ended up being recruited by her coach at the school in Indiana, that was the same exact exit. Her school was on the same exact exit that I said that we would stop. Okay. So that was just like amazing that happened that way. Okay. It was just like amazing that it happened that way. So anytime I had to drive to Missouri, anytime we had to do anything, I would drive to Shalise, my youngest daughter. I would drive to her school. She had an apartment. So I would like stay the night with her, or either we would stay in a hotel. There was like a certain hotel that I found that, we ended up falling in love with. And so every time I would come into town, if I didn't stay with Shalise, I would stay at the hotel. And then we would get up the next day and then go, the rest of the way. Even when I drove to Iowa to Malia's conference championship, I wanted to go support her because when, your kids go to school, go to college, you can't go to all the meets like you do in high school. I don't think I've missed, I can count on less than one hand how many meets I missed in high school. So I was blessed to be able to go to all, support them and go to all their meets, or the majority of their meets. But when they go to college, you have to hope and pray that the venue that each meet, is streaming it, and all that type of stuff. You can watch it. So I did want to go to her conference championship though, because I wasn't able to go to physically go to any of her college meets. So that was in Iowa. And so that trip to Iowa took me through Indiana again. So I was able to stay with Shalise. And it was funny because at that point, Shalise wasn't even home. She was away for a meet. And so I didn't even get to see Shalise, but because she had an apartment, her roommate, her apartment mate let me in, or she left the key, and, they were able to get me the key so I could get in. I stayed in her apartment for the night and then, left the next morning. So it was like super convenient to have that resource there. Because it's like, okay, I'm paying for the apartment, so why pay for a hotel when I'm paying for your apartment? So that's what would happen if I had to come through there. So that's how I kind of did things, and in terms of the traveling, and I was able to break up the travel because of where they went to school. So then Shalise left the Indiana school, and then Malia left the Missouri school. So now Malia is in Illinois now. So Illinois is a different path. I have to go through Illinois to go to Missouri, but she's in a different part of Illinois. So it's not the exact same path. So for this trip, the halfway point is Columbus, Ohio. So that's where I already explained to you why I ended up just staying in Columbus, Ohio. That was a halfway point for me. So I drove 7 hours, stopped in Columbus. And so now I know if I ever have to drive, I don't foresee having to drive anything soon, having to drive to Malia anytime soon. But I know if I have to drive to Malia, then the halfway point is Columbus, Ohio. And I'll stay there and, then, the next day drive. But, I'm just so used to the driving. Like I said, mostly athletic events. I've driven to Florida before for track. They ran club track when they were in high school in the summertime. So I, have been used to doing that. And so we drove to Florida so they could compete. So what I did on that trip is we stopped on the way. So at this time, because they were in high school, I think it was like 10th grade. I think it was their 10th grade year. I don't think it was 11th grade. But what I ended up doing was stopping along the way at different colleges. just to see, you know, where we had to go to get to Florida. So on the way to Florida, we stopped and we went to USC in South Carolina. We went to, I can't remember all the schools. We went to a school in Virginia, and I think it was in Fayetteville University. So like some schools, like Fayetteville, I think at the time, I don't know what they have now, but at the time, I don't think they had a track team, like a female track team or something that happened with the track team. But anyway, I still wanted to go to visit schools because I wanted to get them acclimated to like college. You know, I wanted them to see small colleges, large colleges, you know, medium-sized colleges, so they kind of had an idea of what they would be comfortable with. So I used that trip, you know, as kind of like a visiting spree. So on the way down, I think we went to 2 colleges, and then on the way back from Florida, back home to Maryland, we went to 2 colleges. So that's how we did that. So I kind of broke that trip up, you know, over the course of, it was like a week maybe, or a week and a half. I think it was like a week. And I broke that trip up into different legs so that they could visit different colleges. So I'm saying that to say, you know, driving has been my thing. But I think at this point, I'm all driven out, y'all. I'm all driven out. So this is my last foreseeable trip that I have to drive. But you know, this has been a wonderful trip so far. Driving through the first leg to Columbus, you know, no traffic at all. Night driving, amazing. Got a good night, not good night, but a good few hours of sleep, like 5 or 6 hours of sleep. Early this morning, got up today, and now driving the rest of the way to Illinois. And then flying back home tomorrow on Sunday. So I think, you know, I'm enjoying this trip because I know I don't have to drive back. It's like a different type of vibe when you know, you don't have to drive back home. So like I said before, I'm going to enjoy some time with Malia. We probably won't see her, like physically see her, for a few months. So I'm going to enjoy this last bit of time with her this evening, and then tomorrow afternoon she has practice tomorrow early afternoon, so we'll probably do something you know, after her practice, and then I'll be going to the airport in the evening to come on back home. So anyway, I just wanted to share with you you know, some of the ride that you know, I'm taking. So I'm coming through, still in Ohio now. I have probably about 5.5 hours left to get there. I just see a sign, I'm 92 miles away from Indianapolis, Indiana. So I'm still in Ohio. I have to go through Indiana, and then the next state will be Illinois. So I just wanted to share with you, you know, my ride today. It's a good day, good weather. Of course, in Maryland, we had some snow twice this week. The first snow, we probably weren't even, we knew the snow was coming, but we didn't expect it to really be something. But it was something. And then there was some snow on Thursday night. So gratefully, I'm extremely grateful that the snow that came on Thursday night was just, you know, soft snow. It wasn't like any hailing or, you know, icy rain or anything like that. Some of the roads were still kind of slick from the first snow we had earlier in the week. So I was just hoping and praying that the Thursday night snow, you know, wasn't anything horrible, because I knew I had to leave Friday night. And so thank God, you know, it was okay. And I was able to get out safely. I was able to get Malia to the airport early yesterday morning. And that was the other concern, because it was snowing Thursday night into Friday morning, and I knew I had to take her to the airport Friday morning. I was praying that it wasn't too messy, and thank God it wasn't. So I was able to get out of there yesterday evening, last night, and get on the road. And so, like I said, amazing trip. So I just wanted to share that with you. Like I said before, I'll vlog. So you'll see Malia for a little bit, whatever time I spend with her this weekend. You'll see a portion of that. And that will be it from Malia for a while. And then when I get back home, there will be some conversations you'll see from my other two kids. I wanted to get Malia out of the way because I knew she was leaving first. She had to come back first. My son doesn't have to go back to school until the very end of the month. So I have a few more weeks with him. But anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I'm sorry, I'm obviously driving, so I'm sorry if I'm not looking at you the whole time. But if you enjoyed this video, please click the like button. If you would like to share this video, if you know anybody that you think would be interested in this video, go ahead and share it. Click the share button and let them see what we're talking about on this channel. Also, you can subscribe to the channel so that way you can see all of the different videos that we've done here on the Empty Nest Teacher channel. There'll be a lot of conversations here, and there have been a lot of conversations about different things. Of course, me empty nesting. There's coupon videos, videos about how I prepared to be a teacher, how I feel as I'm going through my first year of teaching, why I started teaching, the program that I'm in. It's a lot of different videos here on this channel, not just about one particular thing. So you will find something that you will enjoy. I'm sure you will. And after you subscribe, go ahead and click the notification bell so every time I upload a new video, you will be among the first to know. All right, thank you so much. If you've lasted to the end of this video, I appreciate you guys, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.